Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Memorial Day weekend. Still got one day off, right? If you're lucky, for tomorrow, Monday. Right now it is Sunday, May 28th, 2023, about 9:48 p.m. here along the west coast in the state of California. The latest quake looks like a 1.6 here into the area of Alaska. We are seeing a little bit of movement here across the Kīlauea Trench within the last 24 hours. And I know we did have a little bit further movement here within this region. It doesn't look like the USGS is picking up on it yet, but we are getting some fours up here a little bit closer to the Aleutian Trench and the Kīlauea Trench area right about this bend. Looks like a about 4.2 coming in there within the last couple hours or so. See what the USGS is reporting out here. As far as any large-scale movement goes, double check, make sure we got the right map here. Looks a little absent of earthquake activity here along the west coast. We'll get to that here in just a second. Far as the momentum and pressure goes, it looks like most of it has been building up here across the India area and eastern Afghanistan. Looks like Pakistan did see a little earthquake. Or no, Papua New Guinea, excuse me. Papua New Guinea 4.4. I was looking on the map. I was like, where is that earthquake? But 4.4 down in Papua New Guinea early this morning. As far as close near the Pakistan area, we did have some activity up north into the eastern Afghanistan region with quite a few fours coming in here. Some older movement from last night as well. Looks like a 5.2 deep one. But a little bit of adjustment definitely taking place here across this plate boundary. Also up here into the Andaman Sea in India region. It looks like, 239 kilometers northeast of the India region. 4.5, about 10 kilometers deep or so. So a little scattered activity, it looks like, in the last 24 hours within this area. Definitely trying to make its way across the Java Trench, it looks like. Also some movement out here across the Red Sea, just outside the Red Sea area in the Gulf near the Arabian Sea. We did see a 4.5 coming in earlier this evening within this plate boundary here. A couple different plate boundaries, kind of like a triple point junction there. All right, let's see what else we have across the region. Some microquake activity across the Mediterranean right now. Nothing going on in the Atlantic. A bunch of quakes down in the South America region. It looks like quite a few 4s and 3s. All up and down the trench line here, so let's see what we got. USGS really not playing too much on it, but there is some earthquake activity out there. Looks like in the 4 and 5 range. 5-pointer, pretty deep there into the Columbia area, underneath Columbia, at 157 kilometers deep. Now some smaller quake activity, including a 4, so it looks like into the Argentina area. It looks like some deeper movement quakes going on here. That 4.1 coming in 216 kilometers deep into this region, and it looks like they are reporting that earthquake there on the USGS map as well. Let's see, across the Middle America Trench, some 3s kicking up. Puerto Rico Trench showing some cluster of quakes. Let's see what's going on up here across Puerto Rico. Most of this looks like it was from earlier this afternoon. Quite a few 3s building up here into the Puerto Rico Trench, specifically right around the subduction zone area. Kind of watching that. It is definitely a little bit more active than normal. Here into the States, aside from movement there in Texas, most of the activity here is quiet. Now again, it's a weekend coming up on Memorial Day tomorrow. Not for certain if USGS is going to be reporting anything until probably Tuesday morning. But as far as I'm talking about up here in the Pacific Northwest in Yellowstone, I know there's activity. They just, whatever reason, choose not to put out any data on the weekends or holidays. What is going on here? California, it looks like nothing major going on. The latest quake near Val Vista area, near the San Jacinto Mountains on the San Jacinto Fault Zone here. 1.2, nothing big though. In fact, things look pretty quiet. A little bit of activity across the California and Nevada border over here near Silver Peak. It's at the northern end of the Death Valley fault zone. Little cluster of quakes here, also into the San Andreas fault, just off of the Calaveras fault zone. Kind of running here along the plate boundary, mostly 1s and 2s across the area. Not really seeing anything major else going on here across the area, folks. Things look pretty quiet, but let me double check here across Yellowstone. Make sure that we got the most recent information here. Let's see here. There's a little bit of weird looking activity here across this station. Now, it kind of looks like earthquake activity, right? You would suspect that's earthquake activity, but looking at the seismograph stations locally do not show any type of similar signature that I can see. West boundary maybe. Looks like it's picking up some type of interference as well. So it's hard to say what this is. It's coming in about the time when there were some thunderstorms up there and wind. And that was about 5-6 hours or so ago. So that would put it around the afternoon time period when these thunderstorms are brewing up. Let me see what we got for the latest radar station up there. I'll bring in the windy app here real quick and see what we got. There's not a whole lot of wind currently, but again, the thunderstorms and whatnot can play a little outside interference up there across Yellowstone. Looks like there's a little bit of movement. If we look at the last hour or so, looks like you see those lightning strikes here across West Yellowstone, just south here, and that only goes back an hour at max. So I can imagine a couple hours ago this was probably booming up here as well, contributing to a little bit of outside interference, which we notice here across the area. So I don't believe those are earthquake signatures there on the Yellowstone thumbnails. But thunderstorms, rain, maybe some hail up there as well. Looks like that's showing up a little bit more closer to Moose Creek, Idaho, but then again, this is in the last hour, and that's what we're seeing here across the Moose Creek area down south here. So thunderstorms playing a little part on the seismographs tonight. All right, into the Anchorage area. Actually, before we get to that, let's double check the tremor map tonight here. Kind of watching this. Oh, another large event, 751 epicenters. So right now, looks as though we are peaking with this little tremor event. We are peaking above the previous tremor event, which was back in early April. Lasted for a short time, very wimpy in terms of the numbers, but it looks like we are surpassing that event. So this could turn into definitely a broad scale, large event in tremor count. This is not volcanic, but more or less the slow slip event between the two plates here, the North American plate here, and of course the Juan de Fuca plate being subducted slowly but surely underneath this area, and that adds obviously some strain upstream and also some tremor. Tremor is, kind of a slow earthquake, if you will. M energy released over here. Pretty good size event going on. 751 epicenters just today. So this past week when it began, roughly about Tuesday, we are up to a total tally of 2,672 epicenters. And again, mostly centered here on the southern segment of the Cascadia subduction zone. So we definitely do see this on occasion, right? As you can see the pinpoint here, the graphs peaking up, indicating a pretty good amount of tremor during that period. And it looks as though we're going to be surpassing that. And I think we already did. See how this plays out over the next couple days. All right, earthquake activity up north. It's a minor movement across the state of Alaska. Not a whole lot going on across the Aleutian Trench right now. There in the big island of Hawaii, still seeing some activity around Kilauea Volcano. Let's go ahead and jump in there real quick and see what we got for the hazard notification system there from the HVO folks. This update was put out this morning. It just continues to talk about the summit there at the Kilauea Volcano on the big island currently exhibiting signs of heightened unrest. That means this earthquake activity in the swarm fashion, and also a tilt inflation there. Just reading this here, earthquake rates remain elevated with over 120 recorded in the past day. So at least they are mentioning the large number of quakes there. On the map, on the USGS map, they're not. I mean, that's not 120 earthquakes. That's only 15. But if we can look here at the volcano hazard map, we'll be able to check out the seismograph stations and look at all that earthquake activity that's occurring there around the region. Here's the last 12 hours. Well, there was the last 12 hours. Let's see here. Where'd that go? There we go. Of earthquake activity. It looks like we're lacking a little bit of data here. But definitely a lot more earthquake activity there around the summit region than what's being shown on the USGS map. But it is included in the wording of their summary, which is good. Why they're not adding all the earthquakes onto their map, I don't know. But definitely looking at a pretty good amount of earthquake activity across that region of Kilauea volcano. Some of it not showing up. And tilt meters, see which one I can get to work here. May have to zoom in slightly to this area. I think UWE will work. Actually, that's a pretty good uptick here. Past 2 days, notice the trend here over the last 12 hours or so has ramped up significantly. Of course, with a large amount of earthquake activity as well. And last night we did notice a little bit of what looked like harmonic tremor there across the area. I see a little bit more here tonight in these broad readings indicative there of magma. So I think it's just a matter of time, folks, before Kilauea volcano starts to fire up again and become the eruptive status there. And definitely continue to watch that. Very active there across the Big Island. All right, let's see what else is there on the Earthquake 3D globe. Am I missing anything? Looks like offshore Baja, California, seen at 3.6. Let me see here. I got to tone down this number. For some reason, it wants to add more than the 24-hour period on occasion. That should be about 24 hours or so. New Zealand, 3.1. Looks like there, North Island area. Give a quick glance here at the earthquake activity there across New Zealand, just real quick. Let's see what we got going on. 13 hours ago, 3.0. The all events here, mostly 2s and 1s. Doesn't look like anything major happening there currently. Earthquake drums here. Fairly calm, quiet conditions across the majority of the stations. A little bit of activity, of course, earlier from those 3s. That was almost a good 24 hours ago. But since then, it looks pretty quiet right now, guys. We got another one popping up here on the Big Island just as we speak. I'm telling you, these things are coming in left and right, and that's just a fraction of the earthquakes that are occurring there. So you never know. This thing may jump into eruptive status tonight. Just a matter of time, I believe, folks, firmly. All right, anything else going on in California? Just some minor movement. No large-scale activity here. All right, let's see what we got here for space weather activity across the region of the space, or this galaxy we're living in here. 55% chance for an M flare. C flare, 99% chance. It looks like X flare around 10%. Proton event around 10 as well. We're currently not flaring too much. There's a little minor C flare coming in on the chart. That's going to be just a little bit. That's not all that impressive at all. Looks like that may be coming from a far side sunspot. Notice the brightness over here. Looking at all these other ones, it doesn't look like they're flaring too much except for this far side sunspot, and I don't know too much about that area yet. We don't really have a good visual on what's coming around the bend, so to speak. Kind of hard to tell at this point, but according to some of the flaring there on the UV filter ray, things could be active way out on the southeastern limb. We'll continue to watch that. The majority of these sunspot regions, folks, are degrading right before our eyes. I don't have much hope for this sunspot area either. It was looking promising. It was growing. In fact, it is growing. But two individual polarities here in that sunspot region. That's not what we want to see if it's going to produce some major flaring. Now, it is definitely a dynamic, or not dynamic, but a very large sunspot, 3315. Very easy to spot from a solar telescope, but it looks fairly stable. There's not a whole lot of flaring happening from that area. Fairly minimal conditions here for the auroras over the next couple days. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get that to change here soon. Severe weather threat, there's not a whole lot coming up here, folks. Just marginal risk for severe weather. Probably just include some wind and some hail. Obviously, some much needed precipitation coming into certain areas. Let's see here. Stand by for just a second. Let's go over here to the drought map. Kind of want to see how this area is recovering. This was put out. When was this put out here? Well, it looks like it's recent somewhat. Still shows some drought conditions up into the majority of Kansas here. Precipitation totals. Is this going to be totals? I believe. It's acting a little funny, but yeah, it looks like still a good portion of Oklahoma here in Kansas into the extreme drought. Hopefully that will change here soon. Like I say, I don't know how often this is updated. This is the 16th, the 23rd time frame. I don't see much of an improvement, but I know they've had quite a bit of rain out here, so it's got to be making some kind of dent in the drought. So we'll check back on that. California, as you can see out here, no drought. We had quite the winter, excessive rainfall, excessive snow. That's good news for us, but hopefully we can get these guys some more rain out there. The numerical model, I want to run the precipitation accumulation here across the south central U.S. here, southern plains. For the total accumulated precipitation map, this should run for a few days up until about June 11th. Notice these areas that we were just looking at for drought conditions. Some precipitation totals reaching maybe up around 5-6 inches of rainfall here from now to about June 11th. Some areas around the Texas Panhandle above that. And of course, when these thunderstorms roll in, higher areas of accumulation are possible in certain areas. But overall trend here across the southern plains and up into the beautiful state of Kansas is looking promising far as rainfall goes, and that's a total accumulated precipitation amount till about the June 11th time period, so about next 2 weeks or so. So awesome, that's good to see. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here. Have a good night. Stay safe out there, and keep an eye on Kilauea Volcano. We'll catch you guys a little bit later.